I know that this is a Second Amendment channel and that firearms are primarily what we enjoy here. But we, as gun owners, need to think about all of our rights. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a free country, the United States of America. And in America, we have these. Okay? These are to protect ourselves from criminals. But more importantly than that, this is a tool to be used against the government should it become tyrannical. Now, we hold these in high esteem for a reason. You see, we fought against a tyrannical government with firearms and won. And that is why we have the freedoms we have today. The First Amendment, the right to free speech, religion, and the press. The Second Amendment, the right to own guns to protect all of the other rights that we hold so dear. The right to have an attorney, innocent until proven guilty. All of these things that we hold very dear. But there are two very important amendments to the Constitution. The first and the second, in my opinion, are the cornerstone to our civilized society. You see, the First Amendment allows you to criticize your government, to say what you want, when you want it, without fear of being locked in jail for it. Of course, if you defame somebody, they can sue you, and that's perfectly fine, because that is civil, not criminal. Unfortunately, the United Kingdom does not feel the same. The United Kingdom in the 70s banned firearms, and in just a little over 30 years, they are sitting on the precipice of being under total totalitarian control. You see, we have a few stories today about the United Kingdom not allowing free speech and instead arresting people for it. And that is disgusting. The United Kingdom is, quite honestly, a place that I would never want to live, simply because you can't say what you want. And the reason, in a large part, is because they never had a First Amendment nor a Second Amendment. You see, in America, most of the time, the speech laws that are tried to be imposed upon us are stopped by the First Amendment, right? That doesn't mean that lawmakers don't try to push ones that skirt the edge. However, a large contingent of conservatives and Democrats don't even bother trying because, well, there's an implied warning, and that is the Second Amendment. And that is why they're trying to violate the Second Amendment along with the First Amendment. But you notice that a lot of the laws put in place in the United States pertain to the Second Amendment, and not so much the First. And that is because the Second is a check to ensure we keep the First. Now, we have to keep both if we wish to live in a free society. Now, here is where the, craziness happens. You see, this is some of the things that the UK makes illegal. Threatening or abusive words or behavior that are likely to cause harassment, alarm, or distress. I'm sorry, what? Harassment, alarm, or distress? So quite simply, all you have to do is call someone a bad name. If they're alarmed or distressed, you could go to jail for it. That's not free speech. Hate speech. Incitement to racial, religious, or other hatred. Look, I don't like racists. I don't like people that hate other religions for no good reason. It doesn't add anything to the world we live in, but you have the right to dislike whoever you want. Because speech is not an action. Speech simply saying something about somebody, saying you don't like someone for whatever reason, is not a reason to be put in jail. Encouraging or glorifying terrorism or disseminating terrorist publications. Again, I don't like terrorism. However, again, simply believing in an ideology is not enough to put someone in jail for. Now, glorifying terrorism, disseminating terrorist publications, that makes you a terrible person, sure. But again, I don't think you should be put in jail for it unless you're taking a overt action to put into motion some type of terrorist plot, or you are doing an action like supporting terrorism through monetary or material means. Simply saying something, I don't believe is the same. Obscene or grossly offensive. Sending indecent or grossly offensive articles with intent to cause distress. That's literally just, I'm offended, so you go to jail. That's ridiculous. Defamatory. False statements that harm someone's reputation. Now, this one, I partially agree with. I do believe that if you defame somebody, that they should be able to sue you for damages. However, I do not believe it should be criminal. And I point to the United States and the way that our defamation and libel works. It's not criminal, it is a civil matter. Interferes with justice. Speech that prejudices or interferes with court proceedings. That one is kind of fair. That one I will say, okay, because if you can't have a fair trial based on something that you say, but where do we draw the line? Does that apply to news organizations that go and disseminate truthful information that prejudices a jury? I don't think you can. But again, this is UK law, not the United States law. But a majority of this list is quite crazy. I mean, years ago, we had a man who got arrested for teaching his dog to do a Nazi salute, which, look, that's kind of funny, but should you go to jail for it? No, but I believe he did. And that's crazy. But we do have a different story right here. A British man was arrested for a tweet. What was his crime? He posted a meme on social media with a curse word criticizing Hamas and Islam. So the arresting officer informed the man, basically, Section 19 refers to spreading what we say like racial hatred. So you've posted something online that we believe is spreading racial hatred. Twitter, Facebook. Well, I can't explain too much. It's just to give you the context beforehand, the officer said. What, you're taking me away now? Yes. So you're under arrest. In the middle of the night over a tweet. I am, unfortunately. This is Orwellian. This is some 1984 stuff. This is Big Brother coming to your house, and you can't do anything about it because you don't have what? A gun. You have zero means to defend yourself because the state is the one that has all of these. The one that has a monopoly on violence. And here's the thing. I'm not saying that you should commit violence. I'm saying that simply the threat of the possibility of being able to fight back typically keeps people in check. That is why more people that have guns typically results in a safer neighborhood. More people who have guns in a populace typically results in a government that overreaches less. I say less because they still try to overreach, but it is typically less. That is why the United States is the shining beacon on the hill for the way that the world should work. As far as rights go, because trust me, there's a lot of things in the United States that I disagree with that don't work quite well, but for the most part, we are the most free nation in the world. And anybody who says otherwise is either ignorant or intentionally lying. Because there is no other country in the world that has the right to free speech, the right to practice whatever religion you want, the right for the press to report and say what they want. There is no other country in the world that has such a Second Amendment as we do. There are other countries that allow you to have guns and allow you to do concealed carry, but a lot of them have strict licensing, strict things, background checks, things that you have to go through, and hoops that you have to go through them. And it is approved by the government. Whereas in the United States, you and me, as long as we're not prohibited, we can go buy any amount of guns, any amount of ammo, whatever we want. Even in states that have like very harsh laws, for the most part, you can still get away with owning multiple firearms, multiple calibers, thousands of rounds of ammunition, and nobody really thinks much of it because we are free. This is crazy. So what this guy supposedly did was posted a meme and or reposted a meme that says, "Fuck Hamas." That's it. That was his crime. That is stupid. I'm sorry. You can't, he's not even, the part that gets me is he's not even criticizing his own government. He's criticizing some other government / terrorist organization. Like, what? So this guy's own government is literally telling him, you can't say something about some other government? That makes no sense to me. But then again, totalitarian governments love to have full control. So this is disgusting. Now, I have another clip that I want you guys to watch really quickly that has to do sort of with this. Saw it on TikTok, so this is that clip.
To a post questioning why you wrote, "Because they're over here, given life of Riley, off the tax us hard-working people earn, when it could be put to better use. Come over here, with no work visa, no trade to their name, and sit down and doss, and then there's more people being put out homeless each year. They get top band priority on housing. You went on to say that you did not want your money going to immigrants who, quote, and get priority, end quote."
Now, I do believe that he may have actually done a call to action, but I don't know if it was this particular man. There was another case that I saw where the guy actually said, "Hey, you should go burn down these locations." That's not cool. Don't say that. Don't do that. But if what he said here is part of the proceedings, as he just read it, nothing he said there would warrant 2 years in jail. So why was it included? I don't know. But my point being, we as Americans must stand up to our government when they try and institute hate speech laws or any type of law that would chill free speech. But speech in and of itself, I don't think that, even if he was calling for violence, I don't think that that should be 2 years. I think that should be, a quick stint in jail, but not 2 years worth of your life for just saying something. Personally, I think that unless you commit an action, I don't think that you should go to jail. I think, in my opinion, free speech is absolute. As far as criminal liability and going to jail for it. That does not mean civilly, because if you lie about somebody, okay, fine, you can sue civilly. But that's my belief. Now, as it pertains to the way that our current legal system works, bare minimum, I can understand calls to action and why we kind of shy away from that. But even so, I don't think 2 years is justified. And for sure, it wasn't in this guy's case where he just reposted a meme. That's crazy. So I guess what is the point of this video? The point of this video is to say that firearms are important. They are the bedrock of the First Amendment, in my opinion, because without the second, the first would fall very quickly, as we see in the UK. And we as Americans must watch out for these things, because it's all too often that we think it could never happen here. Normalcy bias. But when you start to think it can't happen here, steps start to be taken towards it happening. But because you think it can't, you don't really put much weight on those things. For instance, most people nowadays are not super duper concerned that in town halls and local legislative meetings, people go in, they try to say something, and they are shut down by those legislators and removed by police officers. Some people say, well, they're disrupting. I don't care. Free speech, again, is absolute. If I offend you, that's your problem, not mine. If I say something that you don't like, again, that's your problem, not mine. If I videotape in public, from public access, again, that's your problem, not mine. I have a right. You have a right. We all have a right to say whatever we wish. We have a right to record whatever we wish from the public view. We have a right to be able to say whatever we want, practice any religion we want peacefully, protest peacefully. And for some reason, we just live life as if those things are privileges. I disagree. They are rights. The founding fathers wrote them as rights that are inalienable, that they did not even grant. They simply made the government recognize that they can't touch those rights. I know that this is a Second Amendment channel and that firearms are primarily what we enjoy here. But we, as gun owners, need to think about all of our rights. Because all of our rights are written down for a reason. They are all important for a reason. I've been told on more than one occasion that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. That is faulty logic when it comes to your rights, because if you don't use them, you lose them. And people don't understand what that means. They think it means that if you don't use your rights, you just magically lose them? Like, your rights are always there. That's not what it means. What it means is each generation that doesn't use a right doesn't understand why that right is necessary any longer. Like, for instance, if you don't open carry a gun, at some point, your kids, maybe your grandkids, maybe even just your friends will go, well, why do you need to do that? And then it'll turn into, well, I don't see anybody doing that. And then when the government decides to put a bill forward that says, let's ban open carry, a great majority of people will say simply, well, I don't see it around all the time. Nobody really does it. It's not really going to affect anybody if we get rid of that. Sure, fine, whatever. And then the same thing happens shortly thereafter by concealed carry or banning certain types of guns. And then it snowballs over time into people not having any rights anymore because people were not using them. Because you and I did not use our rights, and over time, people forgot why they were needed, why they existed, because they didn't see it, they didn't use it, they didn't experience it. That is what, if you don't use it, you lose it means. So to everybody watching, I just want to say this. We all need to utilize, exercise our rights day in, day out. Because if we don't, we will lose them. And we will end up like the United Kingdom, who we fought to break away from. So we should not allow ourselves to become them and be arrested for memes or simply saying that you dislike something or insulting somebody, because that is ridiculous. And hopefully we can keep any of that from happening simply by exercising our Second Amendment rights on a regular basis to keep our Second Amendment rights intact, so that way we can keep our First Amendment rights intact. Anyway, guys, that is my spiel. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. What do you think about the craziness in the UK? Do you think that we as Americans need to consciously go out and exercise our Second Amendment and First Amendment rights more? I think so. Tell me what you think down below. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next one.